Story number 1. I had a terrifying experience with a clown back when I was in high school. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. It all started one night when I was at work. Back then, I lived with my parents and worked a job at a nearby convenience store. I walked to and from work, and I would ride the bus to school every day. Between work and school, I was pretty busy. I started work from 3 p.m. until 9 p.m. On this night, work went by as usual. When I got off, I left to walk home. The walk would take me about 15 minutes on most days, and I didn't mind it. At my job, I would just be sitting at a counter most of the time, so walking afterwards felt nice. Also, the neighborhood was generally really quiet. I never felt unsafe or had anything scary happen. It did seem a little bit creepy at night sometimes because of how quiet it would be. After leaving work, I started walking along the sidewalk. There were sidewalks for my entire walk home, but I did have to turn a couple of times. About 2 or 3 minutes into the walk, I noticed somebody kind of up ahead. They were standing on the grass between the sidewalk and the street kind of randomly. It was dark out, and they were far away, but when I approached, I soon realized that it was a clown, or at least it was somebody dressed up in a clown costume. It was really creepy looking, and I knew that I would have to walk past him. I didn't really want to, but I did. I tried not to look when I got close, and the clown didn't say anything to me when I passed it by. I could sense him looking at me, though. Still, I didn't look. I just walked past and kept going towards my house. At first, he appeared to stay where he was. When I got like 20 feet away, I heard him move, and it sounded like he went onto the sidewalk. I got about 50 feet ahead of him, but then I heard him walking behind me. I hoped that he wasn't following me, but I had a bad feeling that he was. When I turned, I looked over and saw that the clown was walking a distance behind me. He turned exactly when I did. There was no question that he was following me. I kept going and tried to walk a little bit faster. I didn't look back but listened closely in case the clown was going faster as well. He didn't seem to be getting any closer to me, though. I crossed another street, which he also did. Now I only had a short distance to go before arriving home. When I got to my street, the clown walked after me. That's when I looked over my shoulder for the first time. He was there, maybe 40 foot back now, and was looking at me. I walked faster, and by now, my heart was racing. I was really freaked out. I wanted to start running, but was afraid that the clown would do the same if I did. Instead, I remained as calm as I could and kept walking. Soon, I made it to my driveway. I felt a lot better, but still had to make it inside the house. I walked up and got to the front step. It was at that point that the clown reached my driveway. Then I heard him starting to walk up the driveway after me. This made me really nervous, and I scrambled to use my house key to unlock the door. I was panicking, and that was causing me to go slower than usual. I heard the footsteps quickly approaching as I fumbled around with the key. At last, I had unlocked the door. I went inside extremely quickly and then slammed the door and locked it behind me. I heard my mom say from the other room, "What was that?" She then called out my name, and I heard the doorknob turn behind me. I ran over to the living room and found my parents. I told them about the clown guy following me home. We went over to the door to look, but he was now gone. I told them the story, and my parents said that they would drive me to and from work for my next shift. We figured that the clown had left, and we were all very creeped out by this situation. Later that night, I went to bed, and the clown didn't come back or anything. But the next morning, I got up to catch the bus for school. It was really early and still dark out because school started at 7:25. So at about 6:50, the bus would usually arrive at my house. After getting ready for school, I headed out. I left my house at about 6:45 and started walking to the end of my driveway where I would stand and wait for the bus. When I was beginning to walk down the driveway, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I looked and saw the same clown coming around the corner from the side of the garage. I couldn't believe my eyes. I turned and ran back inside the house and called the police right there. Then I found my parents and told them what was going on. We all stayed inside the house until the cops got there. They found the clown hiding in the backyard. I couldn't believe it. I was sure that he had left the previous night. After that, I was able to get a ride with my parents to school because I missed the bus. But I was just grateful to be okay. It still blows my mind that the clown was there in our yard all night. We should have called the police the previous night after he had followed me home. We had just assumed that he left. I guess he camped out on the side of the garage, which was actually a really good hiding place. That guy was a total creep. This remains the scariest moment of my life. I'm now scared of clowns because of it. Story number 2. This happened when I was a freshman in high school. During this time, I lived at home with my parents and older sister in what I would describe as a pretty average neighborhood. Our backyard was sort of big, but overall, it was a very populated area. One night, I was at home playing video games in my bedroom. My sister was in her room, and my parents were out in the living room. I always liked to play video games in my room, and I had a really good setup there with my gaming chair, a big monitor, and a TV as well. After gaming for a long time, I got to a loading screen. I leaned back in my chair to stretch, and I casually looked to my right out of my bedroom window. The window looked out to the backyard, and at the back of the yard was a small woods. Something caught my eye when I looked out there. It looked sort of like there was a clown looking at me from just inside the woods. At first, I thought surely that wasn't the case. I kept looking and squinting my eyes to see better. It sure looked like there was a clown there. So, I got up from my chair and walked over to the window. Now that I had a better view, I could see that there was, in fact, a clown there, or at least somebody wearing a clown mask. They were standing just a couple of feet into the woods, partially blocked by trees, but the clown was looking right at our house, possibly at my window. It was extremely creepy. I ran out of my bedroom and found my parents in the living room. I told them there was some guy dressed as a clown in the backyard. They followed me to my bedroom window, but when we got there, whoever this guy was now gone. I told my parents where he was and everything. We all went outside after that and looked around the backyard. Although I was really creeped out, luckily we didn't see or hear anything when we were out there. The woods in our backyard were not that big. It only went back probably 20 feet, and then there was a fence. I was guessing whoever this guy was went through the neighbor's yard. At least he wasn't in our yard anymore. It was a real mystery as to who he was and what exactly he was doing back there. We all went back inside, and I went back to what I was doing. I looked out of my window every so often, but luckily, the clown man did not return. The next couple of days were normal, no signs of the clown or anything. But it was less than a week later, and I found myself home alone. My parents were gone at friends, and my sister was at a friend's house. I was playing video games in my bedroom, and it was probably about 9 o'clock at night. It was the same setup as the previous time. I randomly looked out of my window, which was to my right about 15 feet away. I saw the clown guy again. This time he was not in the woods, but standing in the middle of the backyard, much closer. He was facing me and looking directly at my window. I got up and ran over to the window and covered it with my shades. I then ran out of my bedroom as quickly as possible. I didn't know what to do. Why would the clown guy come back? I called my parents and told them about it. They advised me to call the police if he didn't leave the yard immediately. So, I looked out of another window, but I didn't see the guy anymore. I was hoping that meant that he left. I got off the phone with my parents and then looked out of several other windows. I didn't see the clown. Then I headed back to my bedroom. When I was walking in, though, I heard a knock at the front door. I went over and checked out the front window and saw the clown. He was standing on the front step. I just moved away from there and ignored it. I went back into my bedroom, put my headphones on, and forced myself to just play video games. I did that until my parents got back home. When they did, the clown guy was long gone. After that night, I kept my bedroom window covered at all times. I also didn't stay home by myself for several weeks because I was too creeped out to. I'm not sure if the clown guy ever came back or not, but I didn't see him or hear from him again. Story number 3. This happened not that long ago. I went to the grocery store one night near my house, only about 10 minutes away. I was inside for maybe 30 minutes, and when I left around 9 p.m., I noticed a car parked right next to mine that wasn't there before. It was a silver-colored sedan, and what caught my attention was someone in the driver's seat wearing a clown mask. The mask was really detailed, not one of those cheap ones. It seemed random and odd, especially since it wasn't anywhere near Halloween. The clown wasn't looking at me initially, so I loaded my groceries. When I glanced over again, he was staring right at me. I smiled, thinking it was a joke, but as soon as I started my car, he did too. He followed me to the end of the parking lot, and concern set in. It seemed like the clown was trying to follow me. I drove onto quieter roads, then onto a busier one, but the clown stayed behind me. After about 5 minutes on the highway, I called my boyfriend, who initially didn't take it seriously, thinking it was a joke. I decided to drive to his house, about 5 minutes away from mine. Exiting the highway, the clown followed. I took a quiet road, and when I turned toward my boyfriend's street, the clown followed suit. My boyfriend, unaware of the situation, ran out wearing his own clown mask from a Halloween party and waved a wiffle ball bat. The clown backed out and drove away. While I was initially upset with my boyfriend's actions, I later realized it could have been dangerous. I'm glad he considered it a joke, though who knows why the clown was following me. My boyfriend explained he thought of the idea when I said I was going to his place, deciding to outclown the clown. I'm relieved that it worked.